So I'm doing this video because I want to go into a bit more depth about what my time was like over the last few years in terms of the spiritual healing coaching field, what I saw, and why I did make the decision to ultimately leave after this year. I just believe it's really important to share my experience, so hopefully this field is better and healthier than when I first entered it. It's pretty hard to believe this, but when I first came into the alternative healing coaching field, I was actually just a Reiki energy healer. And my first clients just tended to be middle-aged suburban housewives who were coming to me because they wanted to know what a sacral chakra was, and they were curious and kind of bored. Over time, my clientele began to change a lot. The clients that began seeing me had very heavy histories of trauma. And before I knew it, in under a year, I suddenly had a fully booked healing practice. But here's the thing, is that these clients had a trauma history that is very difficult for anyone to really believe. And I'm sure the therapy community was like, well, why didn't you refer them out? And the truth of the matter is that I tried. These clients that were coming to me, not only did they have heavy trauma histories, but they also were very successful. And they had the resources to try out every option available to them. They had exhausted every resource that they could find in terms of their healing process. And even though they were successful, they were often having a very difficult time, often drowning, often on whether it was different antidepressants or something. They were just really desperate for help. And so suddenly I became the last resort. And I found myself in a position that, and to be completely transparent, that I wasn't fully ready for. I have no degrees in terms of psychology or trauma healing, right? My background is in economics, political science. I went to law school. Even though I did work with shamans at the time, I had no training in trauma-informed care, right? I eventually did go back and get that. It shouldn't have had to come to me to do this work, but I dove into it. I read every single book I could find on trauma-informed therapy, trauma-informed coaching, nervous system regulation, Peter Levine, Dr. Gabor Matt. I took a course with nervous system expert Irene Lyon. I really threw myself into this work, and I was surprised that in a way that the clients were actually getting better and receiving benefits from our work that they hadn't experienced through other forms of therapy beforehand. I also trained under shamans, so there was obviously an energetic, spiritual component to my healing as well. And this is also why I want to go into this video, because I was kind of alone on an island taking on very, very heavy clients, very, very heavy trauma. I didn't have a lot of resources in terms of people to go to people to talk to about this. What I really had at that point was the spiritual community. I had my teachers, I had my mentors, and the advice and the support that I had been receiving from the spiritual community left a lot to be desired. More than half of my clients had been through child sexual abuse. I had clients who went through satanic ritual abuse. More than half my clients went through physical abuse. There was domestic violence, and then emotional and psychological abuse that they experienced to degrees that is hard for one to fathom or even imagine. Now, myself, I have had a pretty heavy trauma history. I've done a lot of work on myself, but still, anyone in this field, anyone who is holding space for that type of trauma on a day in, day out basis needs resources themselves and needs support. When I went to my spiritual teachers, spiritual mentors, or the spiritual community in general, I often heard things of like, I need to find more gratitude. I need to understand if this is past life karma that I'm resolving. I heard that this is all part of my incarnation plan. I have a very old soul, so I should be able to handle it. This was very difficult for me. My spiritual awakening was a really beautiful experience. For those who don't know, I had been atheist my entire life. And I had a spiritual awakening at a very difficult pivot point in my life. I suddenly found this connection to Source, God, whatever you want to call it. I felt the unconditional love that this higher being was. I felt the interconnectedness of everything. I felt a deeper resonance and deeper connection with nature. And so when all these things started lining up and I decided to leave law school to kind of bring this knowledge and bring some of these healing modalities that I had learned to others, I was disappointed in what I saw from the community. Spirituality and this path is truly beautiful. But to me, the spiritual community has become no different than what organized religion is. And so it's even difficult for me to find the words right now because I am a bit frustrated, but it's clear that the therapy community, the mental health system, is not doing its job. Someone like me should not have to come in and take on these clients with the degree of education that I had, the degree of training and experience that I had, but they had nowhere left to go. So I filled in the holes the best that I can, and I think I've done a very good job. And then there's a spiritual approach to this healing, but the spiritual community does not want to be here. For the most part, they want to be off in Jupiter. They are not grounding these teachings. They are not grounding these experiences, right? They're using it to bypass the human experience. And people who are having spiritual awakenings, they are vulnerable, okay? The escapism, the disassociation, it's supposed to be a phase, a stage in the process that you go into because life in that moment is too difficult, too hard. You are not supposed to stay there. But the spiritual community and the spiritual healers and mentors that I work with, and I have to be honest, I am very angry and frustrated in this moment, they seem intent on using escapism as a way to create this ego defense. And I've even been a part of it and have engaged in it because it's what I saw from the things that I was learning under. Essentially, that because we disassociate from our uncomfortable feelings, because we just observe everything, we are suddenly higher consciousness, that we just have a deeper perspective. But you're bypassing the deeper elements of the human experience. This world is dark right now. I've seen every aspect of it over the last couple of years. And I've done everything I can to separate myself from my clients, to not be to block off the energy. But this is tough. This is difficult. People are suffering. The mental health system is broken. They are not providing the resources or tools to these people. There is a spiritual component to healing, but the spiritual community is not integrating it appropriately. People are getting left behind. And then someone like me who comes into the field becomes exhausted. We need greater community. We need more people who want to engage, who want to learn in these healing practices, who have the proper support, the proper training, the proper mentorship, psychology, spirituality, the somatic aspect of this, because therapy, it does need to be a physical process as well as trauma is held in the body. These three all need to be integrated more effectively, more appropriately. There needs to be a better education process because we're going to keep losing people. We don't need more mediums. We don't need more psychics. We don't need more yoga teachers. We need more healers who are grounded. We need community. The one other thing, and I know I'm getting a little off track and going back and forth, my thoughts aren't necessarily completely organized. But the other thing I want to bring my awareness to is some other things that I have seen within the spiritual community in terms of you know, the social media aspect to it, and I am part of that, concerns me that the main thought leaders of this new age spiritual movement tend to be people always telling you how to manifest a car, how to manifest a nice BMW for yourself, right? How to not think negative thoughts, or that you can experience joy in life just by manufacturing it internally. That there is nothing but the now moment, even though the past is always held in your body. The past is always held within your mind. If we disassociate from the past, then it will always be running the now moment from the subconscious. This concept that there is nothing but the now moment and that there's nothing but the past, it's a disassociation technique. Something that the spiritual community has been more than engaged in. And then at the same time, we're seeing these beautiful practices. This is my personal opinion. These beautiful practices be used for materialism. Be used in a way that is dirty to me. And I found myself slipping into that. I'm not happy. I'm not happy that the clients who I see who are beautiful people, who I actually love dearly, have been left behind by the systems. So someone like me has to come in who does not have the training to do so and do the best job possible. And I believe I have. And you know what? I have learned a lot. And I even think I can carry out for another year to full capacity. But I need help. I need other healers. I need other shamans. And I need other people who are going to dive into the grime and not disassociate and not bypass the human experience and hold that space appropriately. Less email newsletters, less... The systems are broken, and the other resources that are available to people, the coaching, it's not regulated enough. It's insecure. I'm making this video because I want to call for change. I want the spiritual community to begin to acknowledge that the world right now is very dark, that we have to allow people to experience their negative emotions, to experience their emotional pain, and to not encourage them to bypass that experience and not tell them that they manifested their trauma. I think we all need to begin to look at ourselves. I have begun to do so as well. I haven't been participating in these practices in always the healthiest ways. I've used them as a bypassing technique too. I've had to learn a lot through this. And all I want to do is take my experience and pass it on to others. Energy healing, shamanic healing practices, right? Somatic healing, these what you would call alternative healing techniques are very, very powerful if used appropriately, if used by practitioners who have integrated the spiritual aspect of it and are grounded. We all need to begin working together. We all need to begin creating a community. And we all need to acknowledge the messiness of the human experience, because it is messy, and we need to stop shaming or judging or feeling like we're higher than someone else because we disassociate better. All right, I really wanted to put these thoughts out there. It is my goal over the next year to really take everything I've learned, because I really do think I've created a really good framework for how to heal. And I want to do everything I can to pass it on to others. I want to work together with others. I want to create a community of healers and shamans, therapists, whatever. We all have to begin working together. We all have to come together. We all have to begin to heal together. This job has given me so much, but I felt alone a lot of times. And unless we start building a more cohesive network, we're going to keep losing people. Thank you.